I mean, when you look at the elements of control in anything, even on animals, on plants, on anything, the ultimate form of control is to kill it.
Ethical implications of AI development on modern life. Given the exponential increase in computing power and robust artificial intelligence systems, an ethical AI strategy is eminently desirable. Moderated by Wesley Ellul, Quizando. Angelo Dalli, Umnai. Dhananjoy Mishra, Canas Surveillance System. Yorick Wilks, Florida Institute of Human and Machine Cognition.
Welcome, welcome, welcome this morning to the AIBC Summit. It's been a great day one. Day two's already been fantastic, and there was a wonderful talk by Yorick just now. We are here this morning to speak about the ethical implications of AI. We're in a very interesting world today. We're in a world where computers are making decisions for us. They're changing the way we live, and they're doing it on a daily basis. They're making decisions of the news we see and what we do, and how is this going to affect what's going to be happening in the future. With me, I have the amazing Angelo Dalli. Angelo, thank you for coming down. Yorick, thank you for making your way. So let's just start with a very basic question. You both work in the world of AI. Is AI, first of all, from an ethical point of view, going to make the world a better place with what we're doing, or is it going to make a world where we might not be able to make decisions for ourselves?
Well, there's so many areas of modern life, and AI is intruding into everything. I mean, the wonderful thing about AI is it changes everything. There seems to be nothing from love life to finance to war that it isn't going to influence, so anything is specific. I've been thinking lately about back to old questions that came up years ago about AI and war. Many of you might have seen Dr. Strangelove in 1964, one of possibly Kubrick's greatest movie. And at the time, a lot of people were publicly skeptical about it. But it turned out later, articles in the New Yorker recently, that said that Dr. Strangelove was much closer to the truth than was realized at the time. In the film, he created the idea of the doomsday machine. The doomsday machine was essentially 1960s AI that was going to loose off thermonuclear rockets in response to an attack from an enemy, presumably the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist, and was going to let them off without any human control, because they didn't think that humans would be necessarily around to let them off. And people laughed at the time, but since then, various military strategists have confirmed there was something very like the doomsday machine in place in America, and now there's an application of AI, isn't there? And the more I would like to leave my friends on the panel with the question, I mean, who would you trust more in these situations? Because if you look at the newspapers, lots of people who live in missile silos in Nevada and who guard American missiles have been dismissed for various derelictions because they're out there with no girlfriends and no booze, and they're going mad, and they take up all kinds of funny habits, and they get fired. Now, these people are not strictly normal. Think of those people in year-long missions on atomic submarines who don't come up for a year. Are they people you really trust? I mean, they're going a bit weird out there.
Oh, no, this is a very, very interesting point, because yes, the human psyche can change and can go in very weird and wonderful places. So, I mean, this is one topic actually I was talking about last night when it came down to war. Right now we have a choice between a nuclear bomb, or, as you know, there's autonomous drones.
Yep.
The autonomous drones, weaponized autonomous drones that can go in, and instead of blowing up an entire place, they could find the specific people. Now, when we go down to that, it's using AI, it's using a program that that has tried to make certain justifications, but it can't always assess the complete situation. Just as an example, which we used last night, is imagine there's a man in the middle of a crowd who's shouted out to someone, "We have a bomb. I have a bomb strapped to me." And he had a friend with him, and another person had a gun on him, and he said, "Okay, if you let that off, I will kill your friend." Now, this person is trying to save the multiple. The other man has the bomb. One has the weapon, one doesn't. But these drones will have to make these decisions. And this is the question: who is going to be responsible for these ultimate decisions that are going to be made?
I strongly believe that in that case that people should be given control to make the final decision. I don't think that autonomous decisions about this life and death matters should be taken by an AI system, no matter how advanced actually. Unless it is something that is very well defined, that is going to save your life. For example, if there's an emergency system in an airplane that needs to take decisions in real time in order to save you rather than to, kill you, then I think that is something that should be automated. But I think when it comes to this kind of decisions, ethical decisions, I think people should be in the loop. And also, when you think about it, even though these are very complex systems, I think that at some level, like at a very basic level, I don't know if you have driverless cars, autonomous drones, maybe it is too complicated for a person to be able to control everything in real time. This is why you have autonomous systems. But I think giving human control over the key decision points is always possible. And this is why I'm saying, you cannot abdicate your responsibility. You cannot just give away all the power of control to the AI. Now, if Yorick has a different view.
I take the point. I'm agnostic about this. One of my close colleagues in England, Noel Sharkey, has been one of the major international advocates against autonomous AI weapons, and he's very effective. And his main argument is one that you touched on. I mean, do we trust AI things to make the distinction between competence and non-competence, the right people and the wrong people? And what makes me agnostic is that it seems to me that humans haven't been very good at this. The people who brought you Hiroshima and Dresden, I mean, they weren't very good at this, and I'm not sure the guys in Nevada who are firing the drones in Syria now, picking somebody out, I'm not sure they're very good at it. They seem to take out a lot of wedding parties too. Yeah. So when I agree with you, I worry about the capacity of current and future AI. I worry almost as much, if not more, about the people.
I do really address that point there, because humans are as fallible as machines. But then the question is, when a machine makes a mistake, who's going to be held responsible for that? Because let's go back to the autonomous driving question, which comes up time and time again. You're driving down the road, you're sitting in your nice Tesla or an autonomous car driving down there. It's going at a certain pace, out of nowhere, a family of three, it's turning a corner, a family of three is crossing the road. It has a choice at this point. It can either run over the family of three or, say, go into a wall, one of which will create a death. It'll either be the driver or the actual family. One, it's going to make a decision, but who's going to be held responsible for that decision? Will it be the manufacturer? Will it be the driver? Will it be the person who actually programmed it, or at least gave it the data enough to make it that decision?
I think the manufacturer should always have some kind of responsibility, in fact, on how the system behaves. For example, I, for one, would not trust a car that, an autonomous car that would make a decision that would end up with me, not the driver, but the owner, the person inside the car, actually getting, hit or killed just because it decides to not hit someone else. Actually, I would want it to protect me as the occupant of the vehicle at all costs, almost. I mean, if it can avoid an accident, obviously it will try to, but not at the expense of actually damaging me, because I wouldn't trust such a system. I would never go inside.
Is there any frameworks currently in place, or like when programming or when programming creating AI? Is there any frameworks in place of skill sets that you should actually implement? Should it be protect driver first? Should it be a utilitarian concept? Is there any philosophical elements that are being used at the moment?
Lots of people have talked about it, of course, and I don't know what algorithms they're building into the many automated cars that are coming, but we know they're coming, so the legal system is going to have to be creative about assigning blame, and they're going to have to do it because automated cars are inevitable. I think they're going to be better gas mileage, less hold-ups on the freeways, less deaths. It's all going to be better. No old drivers like me. I mean, so we're going to have to be creative, and also an element that people don't think about is there'll be cultural choices. And a very interesting result was a survey that showed that if you ask the Japanese whether on a crossing an automated car should kill the old person or the child, they basically, by a majority, said kill the child. If you ask in the West the same question, they say kill the old person. So maybe automated cars won't work the same way in all countries.
Okay, that is very, very interesting. So
And are going to impose, cultural differences in the algorithm? Is it going to have a setting? And is my setting going to be, if I have my car, all of a sudden I drive it, to Japan, all of a sudden it's going to switch to Japanese mode or not? Will I have, like, I don't know, a British or Maltese style of driving? Well, hopefully not the Maltese style of driving in Japan.
In fact, that actually is a very interesting point. Japan does drive on the same side as Malta.
Yeah.
A lot of Maltese cars on the road are actually second-hand Japanese imports.
Yeah, yeah.
So that cultural difference could make quite a big difference if we actually set a cultural framework.
You might take Japanese automated cars.
Maltese children would be
Maltese children might be the victims of this, but
Maltese children should be told.
yes. But this should there be frameworks put in place? Should governments start setting the forms of rules, saying, look, these are the concepts as a nation we would like any AI working in to do? Is this something that we should be looking at?
In fact, I've been involved in the regulations of the AI regulations in Malta, which have been a very light touch regulations, that they didn't really address this head on because the issues are still so open-ended that it is quite difficult in our, to legislate anything about it really. So there are OECD recommendations on how systems should behave, and one of the recommendations is that in this case the manufacturer should test and ensure that an automated system like a driverless car should be able to explain itself, should be able to be diagnosed, debugged, and all that. But it's still an open-ended question, and I think that if we put in like too many regulations, it will also stifle innovation. So there's always this balance of whether to how heavy the regulation is going to be.
I see. Your thoughts, Yorick?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, in a democracy, politics and democracy should have a right to issue guidelines, broad instructions to companies and enforce them as import regulations. Okay. The trouble will be enforcement, because look at the current Boeing scandal over the control mechanisms for the Boeing 737. I mean, there were probably perfectly good American guidelines in place for the FAA. The point is Boeing didn't actually implement them and hid the fact. Okay. So are we going to get scandals like that with automated cars, I'm afraid? But still, I still think overall, just as air travel is terribly safe, even though Boeing has a scandal, I think automated car travel will be very safe, but there will be scandals.
Yeah. There will be scandals on that. Just a question, maybe from a standpoint of ethics, should there be kill switches within these systems, where sometimes if you feel the AI is going the wrong way, to be able to shut off and take over?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think so. Would you feel that this might need to be a mandatory thing?
I think so. I think that you cannot really control something that you cannot switch off.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the elements of control in anything, even on animals, on plants, on anything, the ultimate form of control is to kill it. And I think that we have to have a kill switch in all the AI systems. I would actually hazard that future legislation will make it illegal for a robotic system that does not have a kill switch in it. This is my opinion, my personal opinion, but I do feel that is the basic minimum safeguard, that at least, if something goes wrong, we can switch it off.
Well, I'm very worried about this. I mean, it's a really interesting case you bring up, because the idea of the human taking over from the AI in emergency really worries me. I'll tell you the cases. You know the cases. The Air France plane from Brazil to Paris, which took 2 years to find under the Atlantic. What happened there was very clear. The pilots made an error and kept pulling the nose out. If they'd kept the automated pilot on, the plane would have been safe. The pilots destroyed the plane by not understanding what they were doing. They were inexperienced, the captain was asleep at the back. The Ukrainian plane that flew over Switzerland and hit another plane head on, the Ukrainian pilots had a crash nose-to-nose algorithm that said when two planes are approaching each other nose-to-nose, one pulls up and one pulls down. It's very good AI. Ukrainians, for whatever political reason, had learned not to trust authority, so they heard it say this and they did the opposite. And they killed 100 children who were in the plane. Taking over from the AI isn't always smart. There's two cases. I mean, that doesn't mean to say you shouldn't be able to. I'm not denying what you say. We have some very bad cases of humans taking over from the AI, that's all.
Okay.
And I think this is why the concept of explainability is so important, because if you're trying to control something or take over something that you're not actually understanding, I think that can lead to this kind of errors. Because if it's probably explaining itself to you, and even in some kind of summary, obviously, you can't give like a whole essay if you're in a plane that, is imminently about to crash into something. But, given a proper UI, a proper explanation, I think this will help you make the right decision. Should I step in? Should I take over? Or should I just, let the system do its thing?
Okay. Okay, very, very, very interesting right over there. I'm just going to go to one other part of AI now. We also have Sophia, the robot, who has become a resident, I think a resident of Malta or something like that. There was offered residency recently. So Sophia is an artificial intelligence. She is a robot. She is going to start having interaction. She's going to start building relationships. Is she going to be liable for the things she does? If and when she can start actually making these interactions? Is she going to be held in court for something she may say about someone, which, in all intents and purposes, might be what she has come to think? But is she going to be sued for libel?
Well, I think that Sophia's level of AI is a little bit far away from being able to do anything autonomously. So, I think that this is going to take many, many years before these questions are not just hypothetical fantasy. Unfortunately, there was a country, Saudi Arabia, that decided to give some honorary citizenship to the robot. I disagree completely, actually, with that decision. I think it was a very stupid decision to do, because you can't give, it's like giving a citizenship to a toaster. I mean, or giving citizenship to my microwave that can just, talk and do a little bit of, I think Sophia is good because, to capture the public imagination. And on that, I think that it is a very, very good device.
As a marketing tool.
But yes, even to inspire people. I think it's good for education. It's good to inspire people to see, a glimpse of the future. But it is still not the future.
Okay.
Maybe it will be a good platform to build the future upon. But, I think it is very far away. So I think that having, robots in court, I think that will be some time from now.
Yorick, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, yes, I think it falls back on this issue of what I'd call legal creativity.
Okay.
We're going to have to be more, the legal profession is going to have to be more creative. I don't think there's any possibility of penalising the programmers unless they were deliberately negligent. I mean, no, they'd get fired. There's no she there to prosecute. It's going to be a question of corporate responsibility and how we define it. I can remember rolling out an example a million years ago in MIT at some conference on this stuff. And the thing I brought up was the fact that, and this is a bit sort of culturally specific, in England, in common law, dogs have a special status. If you keep a tiger in your garden in Britain, it's called ferae naturae, natural, blah, 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 Latin. It's your fault. Okay. Keep a tiger, your fault, whatever it does. This is not true for dogs. You are not totally responsible for what your dog does. The courts can decide that it was a dog of good character, and it hadn't done this before, and it can sort of get another go. So, I mean, what I like about this was, I know it's a silly example, but with dogs in this culture, we have the concept of a creature which is not human, but has some notion of responsibility and character. Amazing. I know any dog lover here knows this is true, but it's funny that the law recognizes it. And I think really that's what's going to happen with certain robot things. They're going to have a status in law which is not quite like ours. Okay. But it's special.
We had, in fact, this discussion privately about this on autonomous cars, which can be seen like as mechanical horses. Yes. So the law already provides a lot, like when it comes to horse ownership and, the ownership of movable objects like a car. If you mix those two together, you roughly more or less hit all the legislation that you need to cover driverless cars. So it seems like our judiciaries are going to have a lot of thinking on in this place.
Yeah, well, quite right, because after all, cars and trains gave them a lot to think about already, didn't they? I mean, keeps them busy.
That is very, very true. Well, it seems like our time is up. But thank you very much for your insights into the world of ethical implications in the modern world. Thank you very much.
Thank you.